You say that I'm messing with your head.
Hey everyone, I'm back again. I wanted to do today for you a tutorial on how to draw anime or manga eyes. But before we get started, I am actually going to have the camera on a piece of paper. I will be drawing eyes, but before I even got into that, I wanted to just talk a little bit about it because I really want this to be an educational video. Because if you just want to look at different styles of eyes, you can just go on Google. Many people have made giant images of random styles of eyes. You can just go to that and look at that and pick one and use that and draw that. But I wanted to do a bit more. I want to talk a bit more about reasons for picking a certain style of eye, differences between styles of eyes, difference between drawing styles, things like that. I kind of wanted to be a bit more theory of it before we go right into how to draw certain types. So let's just get right into it. There are tons and tons of different styles of eyes. They all usually relate to the style of the artists themselves. I have some examples that I wanted to show you that I think show the clear differences between ones you will see. First off, I want to show you this picture, which I think everyone will know who these characters are. This is, of course, from Pokemon. But I wanted to show you this because the Pokemon style is actually, it's quite unique. The eyes are very narrow, very, very narrow, as you can see. Obviously, they're young characters, so their eyes are tall, even in the male. Male eyes usually tend to be smaller than girls, but this character is young. I don't know how old Ash is in the Pokemon series. I think he's like 12 or something. I don't know. He's a kid, so his eyes are obviously large. Same here. Her eyes are quite large, but they're narrow, and that's the same throughout the whole Pokemon series. Everybody has really narrow eyes. Now we can see detail-wise, the male eyes here, obviously not much detail going on. Girls, obviously more. But again, it's quite simple. It's a very simple way of doing it. It's unique, the fact that they are narrow. Most eyes are larger than this, wider. But that's the artist's certain style. So that's one way of doing it. Another very simple eye, which again, I think we all know who this is. This is Goku, obviously, from Dragon Ball, and see his eyes. Very, very simple. There's not much to them at all. But I believe this style is unique in that the eyes are simple, but the rest is very detailed, because the Dragon Ball Z guys are all very buff and they all have lots of muscles. And see, even in his hands, there's lots of detail going on there. So I find there's always a bit of a balance. Artists will usually pick one or two features that they really, really like to do detailed, and everything else will be kind of simplified. For me, I like to do really detailed eyes, and I tend to do pretty detailed hair as well. So everything else that I draw, like the hands, even the clothes, I tend to kind of simplify it a little bit, just because I have so much detail going on everywhere else. And that's obviously the opposite case here. We've got very simple eyes. The hair is very simple. I mean, really, there's not a whole lot of detail in his hair. But everywhere else, tons of detail. So you have to kind of develop your style. You have to kind of pick what you enjoy drawing most and do that, make that what you do very detailed. And then we'll turn to this style here. This is from the manga of Cardcaptor Sakura. And you see, her eyes are very detailed. It's not really a good picture, it's kind of pixelated, but she's young, so her eyes are big to reflect that. Big eyes reflect younger characters, usually. You can see there quite a bit more detail. See, you can look at her eyelashes, you can look at her shading in there. Quite a bit more detail. So moving on, I have a couple more I wanted to show you. Now this is from the same group of artists. Clamp does Cardcaptor Sakura, and they also do Chobits. And this is Chi, who's one of my most favorite characters. But look at her eyes. Now they're detailed, but there's one thing missing. Can you see what that is? There's not a whole lot of shine in her eyes. You see she's just got a little bit there, and that's it. There's none up here, which is unique. And you do see this style from time to time. It's kind of a simpler way of coloring eyes. It doesn't make them less detailed. It makes them less detailed in the coloring because there's not as much shine going on up there. And that's different too. You can pick what purpose you want that to serve. I like using it. We'll see Chi is actually an android, right? She's a Persocon is what they're called in the show. So that might represent the fact that maybe because she's not human, she doesn't have that shine. I like to use that style of eyes when the shine is gone. If you have characters who maybe they're cast under a spell, or maybe they're about to faint, or things like that, to show that maybe something's off with them. Or again, if you have a character who maybe isn't human, who just looks human, that can be a way to show that. Something to think about anyway. When I talk about anime or manga styles, I differentiate the two. I mean, really, they're kind of the same thing, right? But I like to differentiate it because my personal opinion is that manga styles tend to be much more detailed than the anime versions. And I have an example to show you what I'm talking about here. This is from the manga right here. This is, oh god, let's see if I can remember this name. Kamikaze Kaito Gen. It's a girl thief who is the reincarnation of Joan of Arc. Basically, it's a really good manga and anime. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. But this is her here in the manga. Now her eyes are massive. Again, this artist's style is huge. You see even here, this is the leading male character up here. His eyes are massive too. Very big, very detailed. Anyways, let's go back to her. See all that detail going on there? The picture is kind of fuzzy, I'm sorry. You can see how big her eyes are. She's got all these eyelashes. And I have another picture of her too here. This is a better picture. Alright, take a look at that. Super detailed. The hair is super detailed too, but that's not for this tutorial. Look at those eyes. They're gorgeous. They're huge. One could even argue that they're almost out of proportion huge, but they're beautiful. So you can see all the detail going on in here. And you can see all the eyelashes up here. And even in her eyelids, you can see there's quite a bit of detail going on in her eyelids too. Now, I'll show you, this is a picture from the anime. It's her transformed, so obviously she looks different, but you see here, see the eyes? The eyes are still detailed. She's still got eyelashes going on, but you can see everything is kind of simplified. And that's the main difference, I find. Because obviously with anime, they have to make them move around all the time. So you want it to be more simple, whereas the manga, like this is off of a cover. So I mean really, you only have to do the picture once and you're done. She doesn't have to move after, you don't have to animate anything. So I find the artists kind of go to town a little bit more with the detail, and I like that personally. In my own style, I like things to be a bit more detailed, especially with the face and the eyes. I mean, the eyes are the window to the soul, right? So the eyes of your character should be able to tell your audience a lot about your character before anything else is even revealed about them. Even if you don't even have a story, you don't even want to make a story about your character, if it's one random character in a picture, then that has to say everything about that picture. Like this says a lot, obviously. You know, she looks like she's a bit surprised, she's kind of innocent looking. That tells a lot. If her eyes were different, it would be a different story. And I'll show you a picture here. From my own example, actually. Get it out here. This is a picture, actually, of they're my two original characters, and they're the same age. Let me back here. They go to the same school, but as you can see, the eyes are quite different. In this one, she's got big eyes. Big slanted angular eyes, and in this one she's got a bit more like a cat eye. You see it's curved more, it's angled up, they're a bit smaller, they're still large, but they're a bit smaller. And that tells a lot. I mean, I don't even have to tell you anything about them. You can look at this picture and you can decide this one is obviously more innocent, maybe a little bit more reserved, maybe a bit more uptight. Whereas this one is obviously a bit more sexy, a bit more outgoing, and you don't even know anything about them. I didn't even tell you what their names are. I didn't tell you anything about them. And you can guess that. And that's what the eyes should do for your character. The eyes should be able to tell you almost everything about them. Just like a person, you know, you can look at their eyes. They may be saying one thing, but if you look in their eyes, you can tell if they mean that or if they're thinking something else. And that's what your eyes should do for you and for your character.
You're on your knees, begging.